Hello, everybody. My name is Christina. I am the producer of Siren Songs. I'm here with Lisa Neher, who is one of our lovely composers on this project. Yeah, so
Hi.
thank you so much for being here, Lisa.
Oh, my pleasure. So excited.
Awesome, awesome. So my first question is, how did you first start getting into composing?
Oh, yeah. Well, as far back as I can remember as a child, I was making up, songs, running around the backyard and imagining different stories and like humming soundtracks to them. We were a big movie household, and so that was a main source of my exposure to newly created music was, the latest movie and what the soundtrack was. But I didn't really know that was something you could do. I mean, I knew intellectually that there were movie composers, but that didn't seem possible. And then I knew there were like bands. So I sort of wandered into the music department at Lewis and Clark College in undergrad and was like, I kind of want to write music or sing, or I don't really know. And that was the perfect place to do that because at a liberal arts school like Lewis and Clark, there are no dumb questions. And you could say that your favorite composers were John Williams and Lorena McKennitt, and no one was like, yeah, but we meant, chamber music composers. No one said that. They were like, cool. So I really started to write for concert, performance and think about, this as an art form that was alive that I could take part in as a composer, once I was at college.
Hmm. Awesome, awesome. And I know that you have a background as a mezzo soprano. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Oh shoot, I think we froze.
Oh, okay. So we'll
Are you
just,
there? Try
yep,
again.
yep, I got you. Can you hear me?
Hmm.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So my next question is, you yourself are a singer. How has that sort of informed your composition?
Yeah, the two sides of my life, the performer and the composer side, they're just in constant dialogue. So I tend to want to write the things I want to sing or the things that I feel like are kind of missing. I wasn't somebody who was drawn to the traditional flowers and butterflies and love songs parts of our repertoire. And if people are, that's great and lovely. But I always wanted the weird stuff or the quirky stuff or the funny stuff or the things that were more adventurous. And so that part, kind of pours into the topics I want to write about. And then, you know, because I'm constantly in the rehearsal room, I'm constantly working on things on my practice stand, I'm really grounded in sort of what comes up, what makes a piece successful, what makes a piece something that we can rehearse and put together, what are challenges that are worth it, and what are things that are just like a big pain in the butt that like none of us have time for, or if that's there, it better be super cool. So I hear the chatter, I hear what my colleagues say as they're like, this is so hard, but it's cool and I love it, or why. So I have that perspective too, because I'm really in it. I mostly perform contemporary music. And so I am more than willing to spend tons of time learning something, but it better have a reward, it better be
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah, yeah. You have to get out what you put in. And if you're putting in hours and hours of work, like the end product needs to like be moving or it has to sort of say something. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. Um, Talk to me about your sort of composition style. I know it's a loaded question because,
Sure.
everybody's different, but what are sort of three fundamental influences on your work, would you say? It could be anything. It could be musical,
Sure.
it could be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think number one is narrative, story, or program. I'm not somebody who gets very inspired by thinking of melodies or harmonies or textures in the abstract. So
Mm.
the minute it's about a landscape or a story or a weird animal, I get my best ideas once I'm connected, whether it's instrumental or vocal music. So that connects to my background as a singer and as an actress. I mean, I came to singing from acting, and so I'm always thinking about that. Another thing I really am excited about is that space
Mm.
in between the notes on the page where the magic happens, whether that's in terms of the colors and the expression that a performer is going to bring, whether that's making something that has some like actual like time-wise space with rubato or with a little bit of like free time, maybe where there's note heads, but you get to decide how long or fast those notes are. I'm really interested in those moments of collaboration where we really are co-creating,
Yeah.
as a performer brings it to life and comes up with things that are so brilliant and amazing and gorgeous and moving because there's been that space. It's not all dictated. And then I also think about, I'm really interested in contrast and balance, and I think that again goes back to sort of my training as an actor and thinking about pacing and thinking about we have this term in theater called levels, where like even in a 60-second monologue, it's like this is an angry monologue. It can't all be angry because it's just one color. So when we train, we're supposed to find the moment of joy in the anger, or like where's the moment where you laugh, and that makes the anger pop.
Mhm.
And so I'm really interested in those levels and contrasts in writing, and that influences how I structure pieces, especially if we're talking about like the piece that we're going to write for you, Caitlin Vincent and I, is going to be several movements. And so what is the pacing and how can each moment feel really well earned and like we're glad or interested in being there.
Definitely, definitely. So, talk to me a little bit about why you're interested in siren songs in particular as a project.
Yeah, so I think, both myself and Caitlin, we were really interested in and concerned about what's happening in our world around us, what's been happening for a long time with the changing climate and this feeling, that I've been noticing of, how do we not fall into the trap of despair? Because like despair is so close to apathy. It's so close to like it just brings you all the way around to folks who are climate deniers who don't want to do anything.
Yep.
If I believe so much and I'm so worried, but I'm so convinced in all the data around me that it's so bad and there's nothing I can do, I end up in inaction as well. And
Mhm.
that doesn't help anything. And so, I'm interested in that. I mean, obviously, it's an imperfect world we live in, and this is going to have to be met with all of our human imperfections, but we can't give up.
Hmm.
We can't cede that because there may be more good things to come that we have to help feed. So, this idea of the siren as a metaphor for all the signals we're getting not to act, or all the signals we're getting to, you know, engage in consumerism and not worry about the consequences or any of those things. That is where this project really spoke to me because I feel it really keenly in my day-to-day life.
Mhm. And I think that especially showed through the sort of a brief outline that Caitlin provided, that you, I'm sure, had a lot of input on the piece itself, which, by the way, incredibly excited for. I think
Yay.
it's gonna be a fantastic piece. But I was struck especially with that outline of that sort of element of hope that sort of pervades at the very end, even after the storm, even after the well, maybe I'll just go into hedonism instead of actually doing something. But I was kind of struck by that element just because, especially with um, narratives about climate change and especially about current events and that sort of thing, it's very easy to get mired in the despair, the
Yeah.
apathy, I can't really do anything and that sort of thing. So I was kind of struck by that. So awesome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think this challenge is that the people who care the most feel the most sometimes despairing, and I empathize with that. And then the question is, how can we move through that to take imperfect action? You know, like that's all we can do because we are not perfect beings, and the world is not perfect. So yeah, I'm very interested in exploring the work.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And then moving back to sort of your past work, what is a past project that you've done recently or even in the past that you've been especially proud of that you'd like to talk about today?
Yeah, for sure. Well, on this topic, I'll talk about No One Saves the Earth from Us But Us, which is a massive song cycle 30-minute work that Quinn Patrick Ankrum and Liz Avery commissioned from me, and which will be in person, a live version uh, in the spring on Earth Day at the Cincinnati Song Initiative. They actually gave a remote premiere at the height of the pandemic using technology designed by my colleague Jonah Elrod, which was just incredible. So it's continuing to evolve, and this is a very much a cycle that doesn't necessarily hold your hand and show you the hope at the end of it. Um, it is more about holding space for the mourning, holding space for the anger, holding space for the solidarity that you're not the only one worried about this, because all of us, if we are engaged in our careers and our family lives and all the different things that we have to do, are going around doing those things and somewhere in the back of our mind feeling like, oh no, the 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 world, we have heard it so much over hundreds of years, and am I the only one who cares about it?
Mhm.
And so the cycle, in a lot of ways, is about having that space, at least for me, is
Mhm.
about having that space and holding that place and being an opportunity to bring people together to see where you're not alone. And there are many, many, many people who are very concerned about this, and we can be powerful. I think, I don't know that that is explicitly stated, but that's definitely my mission for it. And the piece is very much in the mood of the youth climate action movements, and inspired by Greta Thunberg and other youth activists who say with no holds barred, this is a problem, this is happening, and is in that energy. So I'm excited to continue to delve into different ways of talking through music about this subject, because that is not the only way, but it certainly was the jumping off point from my musical engagement. That's probably the first piece I wrote that was what you'd call like explicitly political music at a time when a lot of classical music is engaged in talking about these social justice issues. And I feel like for several years I sort of hung back, and I was listening and aware of different topics that were being addressed through concert music, that were being addressed through movies and poetry and film and all of these things. And I wanted to see what my role in that was, and what did I have to say. I didn't just want to jump in. And so when Liz and Quinn approached me about it, and as we developed the project and brought in the poets Craig Santos Perez and Felicia Zamora, who have much longer bodies of work and histories working with this and other social justice topics, that really sort of was a wonderful education to me, and a coming together, so that I felt like, okay, now I'm ready
Right.
to say something, and to say something that I feel is grounded in my truth and is
Mhm.
for me to say, which I think is something that's very important if we're going to write overtly topical music, that we do that introspection and choose when to speak. And oftentimes, especially for me as a white middle class woman, really am aware of all the times when my job is not to speak. My job is to listen, So anyway, that's something that I've been really, really thinking about when I write pieces like this, and as I continue to explore these topics in Sirens.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think that's our time for today. So thank you so much, Lisa. And yeah,
Oh,
excited to be
thanks,
on this
Christina.
project with you.
Me too. It's gonna be great.